Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on the Ordinary Boy Boxing channel. Now in today's video, this is going to be my quick pick for the potential fight that we could have between Manny Pacquiao and Conor Benn. Now usually my rule with quick pick and prediction videos is I will not do them unless the fight has been officially announced. If I did them on every fight that was rumoured or may happen or is nearly signed, I'd have nearly every fight you can imagine as a prediction. Now this fight has not been signed, and I am still a little bit dubious of whether we're actually going to get it. The rumours at the moment are quite strong that it's close to being signed, but that could well change. However, I am going to do this prediction video simply because it's too much fun not to. And as I said, I'm dubious about if this fight's going to happen, so I'm going to do it now because I'd like to do it, and I want to do it before a completely different opponent gets announced. So Conor Benn versus Manny Pacquiao. If it does happen, I think it's being touted to happen, I think around June time, and it will be in the Middle East because Conor Benn cannot fight in Britain at the moment. Obviously, you guys already probably know the backstory, so I'll be very brief. Conor Benn, he's not been licensed by the British Border Control because clomiphene was found in 2 separate tests. He's been cleared by the WBC, and yes, he got reinstated. I think from memory he's reinstated at number 7 with the WBC in the welterweight rankings. But obviously the British board are still not sanctioning him, so that's still ongoing. So his next fight is very unlikely to be in the UK. Manny Pacquiao, a legend of the sport. He has fought a who's who of boxing royalty. Been fighting, since the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. Full disclosure as well, before we get into this fight, I'll be absolutely honest. I've been very, very critical of Conor Benn. I do personally believe, I've done a few videos on the channel, I do personally believe that he is guilty. And Manny Pacquiao is my favourite fighter. If I had to name my favourite boxer ever, my answer is always Manny Pacquiao. So I'm not going to lie to you, I am going to go in with quite a lot of bias. Even though Conor Benn's a Brit and so am I. If you're putting someone against Manny Pacquiao, I'm always rooting for Manny Pacquiao. That's who I'm with. But I've looked back at their last few fights. Obviously, Manny Pacquiao's had an illustrious career, but me watching him beat Ricky Hatton back in 2007 or whatever it was is not going to be any help in a Conor Benn fight in 2023. So I've watched their last few fights each to see where kind of Manny Pacquiao is now, and obviously where Conor Benn is, to make the prediction. I've tried to be as honest as I can and as kind of non-biased as I can in this fight. So going in, Manny Pacquiao goes in with a crazy record. I had to double check this, but this is true. So Manny Pacquiao has 62 wins, 8 losses and 2 draws. 44 years old. He takes on Conor Benn, who is 21-0, and he's 26 years old. So the previous 3 for both men. So Conor Benn, last out he fought Adrian Granados, who he beat by unanimous decision. In that fight, obviously it went the distance, which was probably good for Conor Benn to go the distance. I think he's made improvements, but I still think that there's flaws there, especially when he's attacking. He leaves himself open. Conor Benn always likes to try and go for the knockout, and that showed in that fight. There was times Granados could hit him, and it went the distance. So you're not always going to get a knockout fight, but Conor Benn tries to do that every time, and I think that does lead to trouble for him. Before that, he knocked out Chris Algieri in a very good display in round 4. And before that, he had a TKO win in round 2 against Chris Van Heerden. As for Manny Pacquiao, so his previous 3, he beat Adrian Broner by unanimous decision. Very good fight. it was interesting for me, that fight, because Adrian Broner does try to kind of fight like Floyd Mayweather, and I felt in that fight he had studied the Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight a lot to see how Floyd dealt with him. He wasn't able to deal with him. Manny Pacquiao was far too clever for Adrian Broner and outworked him for the majority of that fight. Obviously, Adrian Broner kicked off after the fight saying it was a robbery. It wasn't a robbery. Adrian Broner did lose. That was in 2019. Also in 2019, he beat Keith Thurman by split decision. Now, this was a more impressive win for me. A lot of people were saying that this was a wrong fight for Manny Pacquiao at his age against Keith Thurman, who at the time especially, I think he was undefeated, was a real, kind of threat in that division. He knocked Thurman down and hurt him many times during that fight. He really did roll back the years. And then his last fight was against Ugas, who he lost to. This was in 2021. This was the last time he had a professional fight by unanimous decision. However, I will say with that fight, it was competitive. He didn't get completely blasted out of there or outboxed for 12 rounds. I felt like he won the first 6 rounds, but he definitely lost the last 6 rounds. I didn't have it a draw, though. I did think Ugas just tipped it. So, yeah, in that fight, the things I noticed about Manny was that his output is still really, really good, especially for his age. That's kind of the first thing you'd expect to kind of lose, but his output's still there. The only thing I noticed in that last fight was his defence was not as good as it used to be. The head movement wasn't there like it used to be. And yeah, he was just getting hit a lot more than he usually would. So yeah, that's the previous 3 for both men. So we have this potential fight. Let's say it's going to happen. So from Conor Benn's side, they will see this as a big name, but someone who is at the tail end of his career, shouldn't be fighting anymore. Easy win. I'm not that comfortable anymore with the fact that Manny Pacquiao's still fighting. I love Manny Pacquiao, and I think he showed with the Thurman and the Broner fights that he has and can roll back the years. But there's only so many times you can go to that back down to that well. He did have a 6-rounder exhibition fight. I think it was last year against someone called DKU. I watched the highlights of that fight. I don't think it's relevant for this because I don't think Manny Pacquiao was training particularly for the fight. He looked out of shape. It's not something he would have took seriously. It's not something he probably was even trying to be competitive in, but it gave us an idea of how he looked. He was out of shape. I wouldn't expect that, hopefully, in a Conor Benn fight. I'd also be interested to see who is training Manny Pacquiao. I'd hope it's Freddie Roach. I know he has had... I don't know if the last fight with Ugas where he didn't use Freddie Roach, but there has been times where he hasn't, and I always prefer Freddie Roach to be in his corner. Some questions in this fight. How will the atmosphere affect Conor Benn? He's used to fighting in the UK. He's used to being cheered. Neither would happen in June. He will be away from home soil, and even if he was on home soil, he will get booed, especially because of the situation he's been in, and he's fighting Manny Pacquiao, who's always a fan favourite. So I'm not sure how that will affect him. Conor Benn always, as I said, always looks for the knockout. I don't think that's a good strategy against Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, no matter how old he is, will fight fire with fire. And Conor Benn will bring fire. He will receive it as well in a way that he probably has never received it before. I still think Conor Benn he's raw. I do. And I think that may be forgot about because of all the things that have happened. But he makes mistakes. As I said, when he's going in, when he's unloading, he leaves himself open. And that is not something you want to do with Manny Pacquiao. On the other hand, how will age and inactivity affect Pacquiao? Obviously, Conor Benn been inactive. I think the inactivity, obviously, is less. Conor Benn's been inactive for less of a time than Manny Pacquiao. But I think it will affect him more because of his young age and he's still learning. As for Manny Pacquiao, obviously the age and the inactivity will affect him. But he's shown before against Thurman and Broner that he can roll back the years. And I think Manny Pacquiao will always fight in that same way. I don't think we'll ever see Manny Pacquiao fight where he has lost his speed. It's apparent that that's always going to be there to some extent. And even against Ugas in 2021, he was still very, very competitive. As I said, Conor Benn has improved, but he makes those silly mistakes. I believe, so we'll get to my prediction. I believe that this fight does happen. It's an exciting fight. It's not one I particularly feel comfortable with, just because I love Manny Pacquiao. I preferred he just stayed retired now, but I do think he needs the money. And there's a lot of people around him who want money, so I think that's what's bringing him out of retirement. My prediction for the fight, so I think this fight goes into deep water. I think we go past 6 rounds. I think it'll be a firefight for the beginning, and it will slow down slightly. So I think this fight goes into deep water. It's hard because we haven't seen Manny Pacquiao since 2021 professionally. So you don't know, at that age, time goes on, could something drastically have changed. But, and I may be being biased, as I said at the beginning, and I accept that, but I am picking Manny Pacquiao to beat Conor Benn on points, but to knock Conor Benn down late. My reason for this is twofold. I think Manny Pacquiao is a boxing encyclopedia at this point. I think he knows every trick in the book. I think he still knows how to manage 12 rounds. I think he can take a punch. He always has been able to. I know he's been knocked out before, but I think he, on the whole, can take a punch. I think Conor Benn makes too many mistakes, and I think Manny Pacquiao is far too clever for Conor Benn. So I think it'll be a competitive fight. I think it'll be a firefight. I expect Pacquiao to get hit hard. I expect Conor Benn to get hit hard, but I think Manny Pacquiao will deal with it better. Also, Conor Benn, I feel, will go into this fight with a lot of emotion, a lot of anger, a lot of, I want to prove a point on against an old Manny Pacquiao. I'll demolish him, and I think that maybe his undoing. So yeah, I think Pacquiao wins on points, but I think he knocks Benn down late towards the fight. Benn manages to get up, but still will lose on points. So if this fight happens, I'm picking Manny Pacquiao on points. This may be, as I said, my bias, me being biased and being a Manny Pacquiao fan and everything that's gone on with Conor Benn, kind of hazing my judgment, but that's the way I see it. Do let me know in the comments below how you see this fight going. I did do a poll on the channel. It's on the community tab. So if you haven't already, vote for who you think would win and how. So yeah, do let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe. It really does help the channel. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. And until next time, I shall see you in the next video.